Russia with a delegation led by myself, the DG, and also the HOD for the Department of Education. Maybe it would be proper that we give a background what has led us to this situation. As the province of Mpumalanga, we had bilaterals with the Russian Federation government. Now, as a result of that, which then saw the birth of a memorandum of understanding that was signed between us and the Russian Federation, and we had the collaboration areas. Now, amongst the collaboration areas that we had was education. We agreed that we will engage on an exchange program in terms of taking students to go and study in Russia, particularly on medicine and agriculture and other faculties, which we think might be necessary to grow our economy. Now, indeed, we embarked on that journey, and students were sent there. According to our records, to date, there's still 221 students that are in Russia. Now, we went there because of the way challenges. Now, what happened previously, the department had someone who was managing the affairs between the students and the department, which was Green Tutu, a local company which was contracted by the department to do exactly that. Now, that has been the case up to a point where that contract was renewed almost on year to year, and as a result of that, it was then advertised and being cancelled. Now, ever since the students have been there, the invoices were then generated through a company which is an agency in Russia called Rakas. That agency, how it comes into being, it went to the universities and says, we will get you students from foreign countries who want to study here in Russia. And then they then entered into contract with the various universities in Russia in exchange for students to go and study in those universities. Now, when we send our students, they were then taken over apparently by that agency in Russia, which the department has not entered into any contract or whatever form with them. They took over the process and then they handed over the student to the university. From time to time, they will then build the university. They will build the university will bill them, and they will then pay the invoice. Money will then be dispersed through the local company, which will then take the money apparently to them, and ultimately they pay the university. Upon receipt of the invoices, they will then generate their own invoices in their own name instead of taking the original invoices as they are and attach the management fee, because obviously they would be working, they should have worked on the management fee. Now, instead of doing that and give back to the department, they generate new invoices in their name, which does not bear the name of university or the emblem of any university. Now, that has been a problem for us, and a problem which was also raised by AG. And when you compare the structures, the fee structures in those various universities, you find that there are discrepancies. The money that we are paying is quite higher than what you could find if you were to look on internet, what is the going rate in terms of the fees. Now, then the department started to enter into discussions with this company to say, but then hang on, can we have the original invoices? So they would say that no, Rakas is the one that is managing this, and whatever the case might be. Now, as a result of that, the contract was then terminated, and we then started to get into contact with universities. Can you furnish us with the invoices? Can you give us the academic records for these students and what have you not? They were not able to come to the fore, and we then went on this trip to go and ascertain what could be the challenges there. What is happening? Because these children were phoning day in and day out to say that we are being evicted in our respective residential areas. Now, upon arrival there, one of the other factors that we knew by then, that some of the students are no longer within the hostel residence. That's where most of them were being placed by the department, of which money had to be paid. Now, they were no longer there. They were in private apartments in a form of flats. Now, obviously, the fee structures, we could not get them. When we got there, amongst the people that we visited, we went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we also visited the Ministry of Higher Education in Russia, so that we discuss our challenges that we are facing in line with the bilaterals that we had. And I must indicate we had quite fruitful interaction with them, and they indicated that they will do everything in their power to assist us, because now they understand our plight, our challenge, and they are in agreement that indeed we should be finished with the invoices, because university must be doing that as opposed to the third party. They are under no circumstances contracted to any private person to manage their affairs. We saw the Rakas family in Russia, so that we establish how did they come into being and what is their role in this regard, how do they charge fees. They then said that, well, we don't have any agreement with you, Mpumalanga government. For all terms and purposes, we have signed a contract with the students and their parents, and of which on behalf of them, we then entered into contract with the universities, of which that is true. We don't have any contract or whatsoever with Rakas in Russia. So now that had a bit of limitation, but all that they were saying is that why can't we take government money and give it to the students, whom the student will then give it to them, so that they pay on behalf of government. Said that's not how government works, and there's no way that we can do that. So we can't give money to a person whom we don't know, we've got no contract with, and there are internal procurement processes that we need to engage on before we can release any money. So there's no way that we can do that. Well, we came back, we gave the children the feedback, we continued with our journey to engage the universities. Some of the universities, I must say, they've responded very positive. Some, they're still referring us back to Rakas to say that they've got a contract with Rakas, and therefore we must discuss any matters with Rakas, of which we don't know them as provincial government. Now, one of the university this morning has answered to say that the person who's liable for the bill of the university is Rakas, and of which they are correct, because they've entered into the contract with them on behalf of the students, whom they've entered into contract with on behalf of them and their parents. That is the dilemma, amongst the other thing. The other thing that we have discovered was that of the students, some of them are not even South Africans. We could say that safely 5 of them are not South Africans. Part of the bursary requirements was to say that the eligible children for the bursary should be coming from the province and from the disadvantaged communities within our province. But then what we've discovered is that almost 60 of those students are not from Mpumalanga. They're from Limpopo and they're from Gauteng. And amongst them, yet again, we have government official children who are beneficiaries to this bursary scheme, which is a problem, because that's not what it was intended for. Probably it was quite a noble course that we wanted to embark on as provincial government. Unfortunately, it was overtaken by unfortunate events of opportunists' behaviors, and there's no way that we can tolerate that. We are saying consequences must be taken in this regard. As I'm speaking, the chief director who was managing these affairs in the Department of Education has since been suspended. We have profiled each and every child, and we must indicate when they were signing in with us as parents, they have deposited a affidavit that says that they've got no means of payments in a form of salaries or whatever form. We have that information. If there are misrepresentation of facts from each parent, we are still going to engage with each and every parent, because we now know who are they and where are they working, those that are working. And we must say, some of these children, they genuinely deserve to be there. And in the main, children that are from Mpumalanga are not problematic. They are very much considerate, very cooperative, and they are willing to assist in this process. But you find someone from Hammanskraal, Themba, who's very problematic in this instance. We've got a problem with that. We've got a problem with that in as much as we want to assist, but we must be given an opportunity to do things in a manner that is befitting. This is public purse. It must be accounted for appropriately. There's no way that money can be dispersed in that way without any accountability. And therefore, all that we are saying, those that we've already received invoices from various universities that have since acceded to that, we are starting to process those, of course, subject to academic records. Some of them were there for a period of 3 years. You can count until today how many years they've been there. And the policy is very clear. If you can't make it through your modules, then we cannot keep on repetitively paying for modules that were paid and which you failed them. Now, they were given liberty as well to move around as they please. One moment, I'm no longer interested to study in this university. Now I want to study in another university. Initially, we started with only 3 universities, but today we are sitting at about almost roughly 15 universities where you find these children. In one university, you find one. And for them, Rakas, it makes business sense because they don't want to lose the students. To them, that means money. So if they're being expelled from this university, then they take them elsewhere where they can be admitted, which is a problem because all that it is happening without the consent of government, without necessarily government being involved. And these children, out of lack of knowledge, I want to believe, they participate, they become active participants in this regard. And the government has been put aside in this whole processes. Now we want to fix the system so that as these wheels turns, they must turn towards the right direction, not anyhow being directed by people who are not necessarily participants. For all terms and purpose, we have a contract with the students that will offer you bursary for this period of time to go and study this particular course within this record time, and then upon completion, you will then submit. It has been a battle to get the academic records for the children until today. I've been to Russia, but I can tell you I don't even have a single one until today. We're still awaiting that. The universities, again, they've also agreed to assist us so that we can collate all that information, analyze them, and make a determination which of those students that are doing well, because some are doing well, we must acknowledge that. They are doing well in terms of their academic studies, but some are not doing that well at all. So we should be able to categorize them accordingly, engage their parents, and if there has to be money that must be paid back to government, definitely will not hesitate. We want that money paid back. Every parent of that child will be contacted, and we will speak to each parent so that we give them the update. And by that time, we shall be having everything of each and every child, so that when we talk to you as a parent, you now know what is happening with your child.
I wanted to ask